Assalamu alaikum. Lost Islamic History by Firas Al-Khatib. It's amazing the way the author squeezed over 1,000 years of history into less than 300 pages without leaving any vital details. The story starts in the Arabian Peninsula, giving the background of pre-Islam Arabs and Arabia. The first two chapters, to me, were rather boring because I was rereading the stories I've heard so many times since I was a little girl. The story of an orphan boy, Muhammad, who grew up to be the most trusted man in Mecca. However, if you've never read the biography of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, then chapter 2 is vital because it introduces him to the reader, his life, his character, why people followed him, and the basic tenets of his teachings. Muslims were persecuted by the elites of Mecca, who saw Islam as a threat to their power, which led to the Muslims migrating to Medina. From there, Islam spread quickly and widely. The four caliphs who took over leadership of the Muslim world after the death of the Prophet, Abu Bakr, Umar, Osman and Ali, were known as the rightly guided caliphs. Umar's time as caliph was marked not only for his military conquests, but also his administration over the conquered territories. For the people there, life barely changed. The previously ruling Byzantine and Sasanian armies and aristocratic class left, but the local populations remained untouched. For the local population, there were two main changes. First, who they paid taxes to, and second, they were given the freedom to practice their religions. For example, the monophysite Christians in Syria were allowed to practice their religion, which was a change from the oppressive Byzantine government who imposed the Greek Orthodox belief on them. Jews were allowed to return to the holy city, Jerusalem, to worship. The nature of the Muslim government and society changed fundamentally after the era of the guided caliphs. The Caliphate became hereditary, a title passed from father to son. The expansion of the Islamic territories continued. Islam spread westward from the Arabian Peninsula to North Africa and Europe. It spread eastward to India, China, and the Far East. The Umayyads conquered most of Iberia in just 4 years, with only a few thousand soldiers, indicating that they received support from the local population who were tired of the oppressive policies of their conqueror rulers. In India, early converts to Islam were Buddhists and members of the lower caste who were attracted to the egalitarian nature of Islam. The rapid expansion meant that a huge number of people who came under Muslim rule were not Muslims themselves. In the early to mid-700s, it is estimated that only 10% of the population was Muslim. The rest was a blend of Christians, Jews, Zoroastrians, Buddhists, and Hindus. The jizya imposed on the non-Muslim population was lower than the pre-Islamic taxes of the Byzantines and the Sassanids. The 9th through 13th centuries in the Muslim world was an era of scientific, religious, philosophical, and cultural developments at a scale and depth that had never been seen before in world history. Previous accomplishments of other civilizations were brought together, compared, and built upon to create a new golden age of scientific discoveries. This era served as a bridge between the knowledge of the ancients and Renaissance Europe and laid the foundation for today's modern scientific world. During the Abbasid era, a scholar who translated any book from its original language into Arabic was given the book's weight in gold. The most renowned scholars, Muslims and non-Muslims alike, flocked to Baghdad. The best of Persia, Egypt, India, and former Byzantine lands were brought together to advance science in a way that benefited the entire world. Arabic became the lingua franca that united people from different backgrounds. Unlike modern secular science, Islam itself orders the acquisition of knowledge, making scientific research an act of worship. The Golden Era saw advancements in various fields of science and the birth of famous scholars such as Al-Khwarizmi, Omar Khayyam, Al-Biruni, Ibn Sina, and Al-Battani. They expanded and further developed the work of previous scholars. For example, Al-Biruni showed that Ptolemy's calculation was off because he did not consider earth motion. Unlike European astronomers, Muslims were not harassed by the religious establishment for their views because scientific endeavors were seen as a form of worship. In the first 300 years, Islam spread rapidly. When the military expansion stopped, the intellectual expansion began and sciences were pushed to a new frontier. The next 900 years were turbulent, which did not really end until the rise of the Ottoman Empire in the 1500s. With the fall of the Ottoman Empire, Muslim territories were divided among the European colonial powers, and the borders of the Middle East and East Asia were redrawn to what it is today. The Muslim world has not recovered from the devastating loss of its caliphate. If you want to read about the history of Islam and how Muslims and Islamic civilization have impacted the world, this book is a good place to start. Links to online bookstores are in the description.